smashed through a station. The blast caused hazardous gas and mass radiation. The public panic due to lack of information that made a killer situation. Feeling ill civilization. Still you sit in the basement, states a scientific nation to fail.
Yeah, buddy.
They read it in braille. Politicians with the skin and scales, pigtails, sending soldiers and ship and sailors, sunken city divers and trails. Down below, search for survivors. There's no.
I'm gonna tell you right now, what makes me happy is the fact that I get to talk about some Major League Baseball. As I will be doing that as the hashtag Brothers of Baseball show. We'll be in the building here in the second segment of the ShakeBack Sports Show, brought to you, of course, by the ShakeBack Media Group and brought to you exclusively by, of course, the Big Game Christian Sports Network. It's your boy, Willie Epting Jr. Second segment. It is on as baseball season has begun officially. I understand that the week prior to this past week that there was a series in Tokyo that counted, but it really didn't count, but it did count. It counts towards the schedule, or it counts towards the standings, but it didn't really count towards the start of the season, in my opinion. But that's just what it is, my opinion and my opinion alone. All right, and in the first segment, we did talk about the Lakers buzzing and being buzzed because 2 nights in a row, the Lakers were involved in a buzzer beater at the horn to end the game, first against Indiana and then secondly against Chicago. So we talked about that. Before we actually get into the ShakeBack part of the Show of America, we're going to get to some NFL here in just a moment. But I want to go ahead and pay homage to where it's due. And oh, you know what, Big Day? Before we do that, we got to pay the bills, man. Let's go ahead and take care of the bills. This second segment, it is being brought to you by the Strike Zone. Catch all the long ball, base-stealing baseball action of the Strike Zone broadcast, featuring the 2025 Crowley Eagles in their pursuit of a UIL state championship. For schedules and times, go to BGCSports.net. Again, that is BGCSports.net. And make sure y'all check out my dog over there, Ace Gentry. Ace Gentry Little. And that is his real name. I'm not making that up. So he is on the call out there for those Crowley Eagles. And I keep saying I need to get out there. We obviously need to get out there because there's a baseball show on the network. And that is another story for another day. All right, Big Day. So before we actually get to ShakeBack, the ShakeBack story of the week, and it's not really of the week, it's really the ShakeBack story since the election. But thanks to this current administration, they keep on giving me things to talk about. And it's both happy in the fact that it gives me an opportunity yet again to express a great deal of thought and opinion behind a lot of stuff that we see going on. But it's also sad at the same time because it is this administration and what they're doing is not really conducive to what a lot of us feel is not what he actually ran his campaign on. But we're going to get to the NFL before we do that. And the NFL, to me, is going to start right there at the quarterback position, as now there's really only one major quarterback domino to fall. And that, of course, is Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers has visited the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has had a chance to talk to the brain trust out there. He did have an opportunity to talk with head coach Mike Tomlin, but he walked out of the building with no deal. And now we're in the crossfires or the crosshairs, and the clouds are being caught up into what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. And I briefly discussed this somewhere. I don't know where we were. We may have been at church. As a matter of fact, somebody at church actually asked me last Sunday, what did I think Aaron Rodgers was going to do? And here's the thing. I'm going to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers side of it first. Because if I'm the Steelers, I've lost out on both of my quarterbacks that were on the roster in 2024. So Russell Wilson, as we now know, is in New York with the Giants, and Justin Fields is now in New York with the Jets. Do either one of those players or do either one of those teams feel like they have their franchise future quarterback? I don't know about the Jets and Justin Fields. Time will certainly tell. But as far as the Giants go, no, that we know that Russell Wilson is not their long-term answer. And not only that, the Giants now have currently 3 quarterbacks under contract on their roster as they sign Jameis Winston, of course, Russell Wilson, and Tommy DeVito, who's already there. So it begs the question as to what is going to happen with the Giants and what they're going to use their pick on in this upcoming draft. But back to Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. If I am the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't know. I think they actually re-signed Mason Rudolph back from Tennessee. We know that Mason Rudolph is not the long-term answer for the Steelers. He wasn't the first time. What makes us think that he will be the answer in his second coming back to the Steel City? Not much gives me any confidence that would be the ideal situation. But I will say this in terms of what the Giants have. The Giants do have a Super Bowl winning quarterback. What they do have is a quarterback that has thrown for 5,000 yards or nearly 5,000 yards in one season. What they do have is a quarterback that has led that team to victories and has been a spark plug in a lineup that otherwise fizzled out in various parts of various seasons in the past. What they also have is a top 5 pick. What they also have is the opportunity to draft either Shedeur Sanders, depending on what Cleveland and what Tennessee does. They may have an opportunity to draft Cam Ward with the same situation as just mentioned. Jackson Dart, who seems to be moving up on a lot of people's boards. I don't know if they're going to reach that high because they burned themselves before with the pick of that similar type with Daniel Jones. Now, am I saying that Jackson Dart is going to be like Daniel Jones? No, not at all. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that at some point you become gun shy over the mistakes that you made in the past that has seen the lights of Saquon Barkley go to your rival up north and go there and win a Super Bowl, all because they chose the wrong person to sign to a long-term deal, in my humble opinion. So what does that mean for Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers? If the Steelers, who have Mason Rudolph on their roster right now and really no one else, the Steelers only have really 2 options. They can either move up in the draft, move into the top 5, which historically, I don't recall us ever seeing the Steelers do something like that. Or they can wait it out for Aaron Rodgers. And it's probably going to be the latter, simply because who else are they going to get? Joe Flacco, Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill, I believe, is on the coaching staff with the Raiders, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not saying it's completely out. We've seen people, because he hasn't actually officially retired yet, if I'm not mistaken. So we've seen people come off the bench as coaches and come back into the realm of competition, whether it be on the court or on the diamond. Not sure if we've seen it in the NFL, but hey, you know what? There's a first time for everything if we haven't. So here is the thing with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is 40 plus years old. Last year, he had 28 touchdowns and 13 interceptions. Do you guys know that Aaron Rodgers threw for more touchdowns than Patrick Mahomes, Tua Tagovailoa, Russell Wilson, and there was somebody else that I'm missing. So that being said, he did put up, relatively decent numbers. And one could argue that they were phenomenal numbers based on the coaching situation that we saw in Gotham City, particularly with the Jets. But again, Aaron Rodgers is 40 plus years old, coming off of a major lower leg injury in which we saw his mobility already limited from the fact that he's over 40, but even more so after the injury and the recovery itself. So what is Pittsburgh going to do? And I need Steelers fans out there to, you can hit me on the Twitter at SHKBKMediagrp. I would like to have a discussion with you guys about this. What's Steeler Nation going to do? What's hashtag here we go going to do? Because the pickings are slim. And again, are the Steelers going to move that far up in the draft to where they're going to be able to pick one of these quarterbacks? Or maybe, just maybe, Jackson Dart might find himself at where the Steelers pick. I think they pick in the 20s because they made the playoffs last year, maybe like 23rd or something like that. Jackson Dart certainly could still be there. It just depends, of course, what happens in the first 22 selections. I mean, and one thing that we know about the draft is that nothing's for sure. That's the thing that's for sure, is that nothing's for sure. We've seen it when Aaron Rodgers was projected to go number 1 and he fell all the way to 23. We've seen it when Will Levis was projected to go in the first round and he falls to the second round. So there's all kinds of things that we've seen that we thought that we wouldn't see, but then there's things that we didn't see, particularly if you're a Raider fan, because Alex Leatherwood was drafted 20th something overall by the Raiders. The Raiders picked Cleveland Farrell, I think, with the number 5 pick some years ago. So things that we don't think are going to happen, they happen. And things that we think are going to happen, they don't happen. So if I'm the Steelers brain trust, and I know that Mike Tomlin he's probably, beside maybe him and Andy Reid, I don't know which one has been with their respective squads the longest, but we know that they are probably the most tenured head coaches in the NFL to this point. And we also know that the Steelers have never had a losing season under Mike Tomlin. And the betting odds that as time goes by, particularly as Ben Roethlisberger, that era has continued to grow further and further away from that era, it seems as though the odds of the Steelers having a losing season seem to grow larger. But all they've done is go to the playoffs. I want to say 3 out of the 4 years that Ben has left the game. So we know that Coach Tomlin can do just that. We know that he can coach. But at some point, and I understand George Pickens is there. I understand that they traded for DK Metcalf. I understand that Pat Freiermuth is one of the better tight ends in the NFL. I understand that Jaylen Warren is a really good running back. They're probably going to bring in another back if they don't already have one on their roster to do that two-head thing that Warren was so effective without the injuries when Najee Harris was there before he went off to the Los Angeles Chargers. We do know about the defense and the fact that they have a playmaker at every level. They are truly a quarterback away from going deep into the playoffs. A team that went 10-7 in 2024 with Justin Fields at the beginning and then Russell Wilson. But then again, think about the Steelers and what they did the last few weeks of the season. They averaged like 14 points a game like the last 4 or 5 weeks of the year. Do you think if they had a quarterback as the caliber of a, let's see, maybe a Geno Smith, that would have happened? Maybe the caliber of maybe, I don't know, throw somebody else out there that just signed in the free agency market, or somebody just got traded. So it just really kind of is up in the air in terms of what the Steelers can do with that position. We know that it is the quarterback, or it is the most important position, if not one of the most important positions in all of sports. But for some reason and somehow, ever since Ben Roethlisberger has left the Steel City, they seem to just keep plugging along. So we shall see. All right, we got 5 minutes left to go, or actually 3 minutes left to go in the segment. I'm going to spend the rest of the time talking to America and our continued need to shake back. This is the ShakeBack Media Group and the ShakeBack Sports Show. But again, we talk about things inside and outside of the world of sports. So the ShakeBack moment this week comes from the leaked text message chain from all of the department people in this administration concerning the Yemen, concerning plans with Yemen and possibly those with China and even with Iran for that matter. Now, let me preface this, ladies and gentlemen, by saying this as I sit up in my chair. I am a product of our armed forces. I served in the Army National Guard in Louisiana for 8 years, 6 years active, 2 years inactive. I've been to different places. I shouldn't say different places, but we've had to do different things in my service. I did have to go, of course, to basic training and of course AIT that did that in Missouri and in Virginia. And one of the things I remember in training was how important it is and it was to make sure that things that needed to be secret. My sisters are products of the armed forces. My oldest sister, Lydia, actually she actually had to have one of the highest security clearances out there. And this would have been a good time for me to invite her on the show to ask her about her thoughts in this realm of these leaked messages in regard to our national security. But here's the thing, and I have a right to speak about this because of my service to this country. You guys in Washington that allowed this and that are continuing to allow this, y'all messed up. Y'all messed up big time because those are fireable offenses. Those are court-martial type of offenses. Those things will get you put out of the military quick, fast, and in a hurry. Not because it was an accident, but because you were careless, reckless, and did not take the United States safety as the first and foremost thing in the priority of these message exchanges. And for people, and I actually posted something on social media the other day, and it was a meme with somebody doing like this. For all y'all that's watching, doing like this. And I said, and for all y'all that will be listening, is me looking around like, yo, what's going on? So for everybody, and I did that because I'm looking for the people that's going to defend and or justify the acts of our defense in terms of this. And anybody out there that is trying to say that it was just an honest mistake, people get fired all the time for honest mistakes. In the private sector, people get fired all the time in small businesses. It's just some things that have to have a zero tolerance. In my opinion, that has to be one of them. You cannot, and then on top of that, when you have all of these people that have been placed in these positions, and I'm so tired of people pushing back on DEI because every member of the Trump administration is a form of DEI one way or the other, simply because the majority of them are not qualified for the positions that they hold. So let me ask you a question. How is that the best thing for America? How is that the best thing for America? When is it ever the best thing for any organization? I don't care if it's one person or if it's 3 million people like what Pete Hextall is in charge of. When has it been good for any entity, any organization to put the least qualified individual in a position such as that? When? I'll wait, because it never has. So what we're seeing is everything that was warned about Project 2025 in terms of this administration putting people in place, people in positions of authority and power that were going to be loyalists and not necessarily the ideal candidate or hire. So for all y'all out there that's saying DEI is this or DEI is that, man, these cabinet members are the very byproduct of what DEI is. Come on back on the other side of the break. I may get into this a little bit more. We got some more NFL to get into. ShakeBack Sports Show, Big Dave, Willie Epting Jr., y'all coming back and holler at us.